bringing you the latest news, game updates, insights, highlights, and everything Liberty Hockey. This is Rock the Rink, where Liberty Hockey lives.
Another episode of Rock the Rink. We're glad you're joining us here today. Talking some Flames recruit. 2 more have been signed. We're also going to have new captain of the Flames, Sam Feamster, come in and join us for a little chat. But before we get to Sam, let's talk here about the new Flames recruits that have been officially signed to the program. Liam Cox-Smith and Hayden DeMars. We dive in here to Cox-Smith from Minot, North Dakota. Everybody knows Minot just because of what's happened here in years previous. Played this last season in the AJ and in the SJ. Was a part of the Melville Millionaires in the SJ. 9 goals, 14 assists, 23 points in 30 games. Pretty solid numbers there. Also played for Fort McMurray in the AJ as well. So this is a smaller forward. I believe they have him on Elite Prospects as 5'9", but it sounds like coming out of the program, they are very excited about this guy's skill set.
Yeah, that was one of the guys Ben Hughes highlighted right after prospect camp when we talked to him. He stood out to everyone. So that is a big time player that you're very excited about. Brings a good skill set, and you're hoping. We were talking off air, right? You're never sure how it translates, right? But you're hoping his skill set will translate and he can find chemistry early in the season to build that confidence transitioning into collegiate hockey.
I got to speak to Liam a little bit at Prospects Camp right before we kind of had a dinner on a Thursday night. And he has a previous relationship with Laz Cable. So I always love that. Guys coming in. He was sitting on a couch with them, and I just thought, I was just one of Laz's buddies, and it turns out really good hockey player. I didn't get to watch a ton of skates this camp, but from kind of what Pat alluded to, all the coaches were talking very highly of him, his ability to score, just his presence when he's out there on the ice. So as a recruit coming in, another guy we're extremely excited about.
Yeah, and going to prospect camp, it was interesting. I told you guys last week.
Yeah.
I showed up, and I was like, who are these guys? Trying to figure it out.
Right?
I was looking at the gloves, looking at the helmet, trying to figure it out. I couldn't figure out who this one guy was, but I watched him on the ice, and I was like, man, he's making things happen, total playmaker. And then just doing some research before this podcast, you see a couple pictures, and I'm like, that's who he is. I'm glad we signed this guy.
Yeah.
So, he stood out to everyone there, great skater, and, he was just making things happen. So, super excited that we got that guy signed.
Yeah, that's good. It's really easy to look at these players and you kind of go through their numbers in junior hockey, and you're trying to project where they're going to be as a Flame, right, at ACHA level. And it's really difficult because we've mentioned in previous podcasts, you've got a guy like Luke Reeves who had good numbers and those translated into good numbers. But then you have some guys who have crazy sky-high numbers that don't do anything. And then you have some that maybe they scored 15 points and you're like, okay, it'd be a depth player. And they turn out to be a 60-point
goal scorer, right? Each year.
So it's really hard to project where these players are going to turn up. But I will say this about Liam Cox-Smith. Melville Millionaires, formerly for Minot State, they had a guy named Riley Johnson, and this is going back 8 years ago, I think. So he was their number 1 center and had a really good career in the ACHA. I think they were number 1 at the time. When they came to Lynchburg, were they undefeated at that point when Liberty beat them in those 2 games to end the season?
They were at 3? No, I think they had lost 1 game.
Yeah,
then.
So he was the dude on their team, though, and he played in Melville. So I'm tending to think Liam Cox-Smith is going to have some game to him from where he has played. And also going, I was digging into Elite Prospects last night. I had the time to finally kind of sit down and research these guys a bit. Mac Ratzliff as well. He played in Melville previously. So I'm, seeing that from both these guys. It's not only saying they played on this team, but just the experience they've had in playoff hockey in these junior ranks where it's really dog eat dog. If you're not performing well, you're going to get cut and filled in with somebody else. But then just the playoff atmosphere is reckless. You're fighting for every inch of ice there is out there to score a goal in the playoffs and just to compete. And I think you're going to see that bode well when it comes playoff time for Liberty. Like this, we'll get more into this. Let's talk about Hayden DeMars really quick here. I'm pumped up today.
Yeah,
I am excited to go.
Boy.
Hayden DeMars, big fella, 6'3", 205 pounds from Grand Rapids, Minnesota. Played this past season in the Null, 18 goals, 13 assists, 31 points. Previously in the NA3 for the Alexandria Blizzard, where he had 23 points in 19 games. And he's a big dude. And another guy I think that will be able to provide offensively, but you love to see that size.
Yeah, I think for him, like, obviously, this was a guy that the coaching staff was also excited about. Like, they didn't know if they were going to get him. Found a way to – the biggest thing, you talk a guy to come to campus, and, like, that becomes a key selling point, right?
Yes.
Like, because then you get to see all the amenities, all the – things that are offered and how the program is actually ran, right? So then, like, I think that was, like, a big selling point for him. Like, he's like, oh, this is legit. And so, like, that is another person that you just add now to the depth and, like, will be an impactful player for Liberty. And you get these two guys that we've talked about. Like, I think for the coaching staff, they're excited and feel like these are two guys that can insert immediately into the top 9, replacing some guys that just left, and both could provide some good quality scoring, especially, like you just said, Rhett, in some of those big games and on the playoff push.
Got to speak with Hayden and his mom for like a good while at the rink. And whenever you're bringing in this large of a recruiting class, you just almost have to assume like one or two guys may not fit in kind of culturally, just from a numbers perspective. But getting to have like great conversation with him. I'm so excited bringing Hayden in. He was talking about aspirations for ROTC, which
I was reading that. That's kind of cool.
Brings back a little Ryan Cox memory.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a focused, dedicated type of player, type of individual. And man, that translates to the college hockey game. Like if you could just have your ducks in a row and almost kind of be forced into following routine, schedule, blocking your time. Again, like that will help you a ton of just like have to sleep this time, have to study this time, have to eat this time. On top of just like we had a great conversation. I'm excited for him. He's obviously a great player, and just can't wait for the fall bringing these boys in.
Kurt, talk about how difficult that is to be in the ROTC program and how demanding that is on your body, but then also play a college sport.
Yeah, that honestly, that was the large part of our conversation. I won't get like too crazy into the detail aspect of it, but essentially when you're in ROTC, there are certain kind of like physical assessments that they're going to perform on you, that they're going to have an expectation for you to reach. And it's great, it's awesome, but a lot of those things are in somewhat direct opposition to being a quality hockey player. Yeah. And this is something Ryan Cox and I talked about a lot. So each military branch has their own kind of physical tests that they're going to run. And within all of them, there's like a long, slow run. That's not what you want for a hockey player. And compile on top of that, like the pounding and the beating of running when you're used to playing a frictionless sport like hockey, right? It's different on the body. But with ROTCs, like there's weekly morning workouts at a very early time before the sun is up. Other things you're expected to do throughout the year. So just like it sucks up a lot of time. It sucks up a lot of energy. It is a very difficult thing to do if you're not the right person for it.
Right.
But from meeting Hayden, I think he will be. And there's a lot of just kind of extra things you have to consider. Like, okay, they're going to be in hockey boot and combat boots. They're going to be with taking the pounding of a sport of hockey practices and games, and then also like putting a heavy ruck on their back and walking around with that. So just a lot of compression, a lot of time and energy getting sucked up. You have to be on top of it. There's no other way to word it.
Yeah, well, that's going to be interesting to see. But I think the one big thing that Hayden has, I'm sure, is just like that work ethic, which you were mentioning, that ability to grind, which I think is going to fit the theme of this team this year. And we'll tell you more about that. Earlier today, we got to sit down with the new captain of the Flames, Sam Feamster. Thrilled to be joined now by what we deem as the 12th captain of Liberty hockey in the D1 era, Sam Feamster. Sam, great to have you in studio.
Hey, thanks for having me. excited to be here.
Yeah, exciting couple weeks for you. Can you kind of just walk us through the whole process of getting Dawn the C on your sweater now and what that means to you?
Yeah, so about a month ago, we had a team meeting, and it's kind of funny because I was in my workout clothes getting ready to work out with Coach Kerr, and all of a sudden Kirk like pops his head in and is like, hey, everyone in the conference room right now. So I was just kind of looking around like, oh, wonder what that's for. And then sure enough, the video of my dad pops up, and that was such a cool moment. So special to just like get that message from him. Just in that moment, I was just kind of thinking like, man, all my work paid off. Just to see my dad have a chance to like say that to me, it was so cool. And then basically since that was on a Wednesday, since then it's been a quick like 3 weeks of just like getting thrown into all the duties, and I've been loving it though. It's good stuff.
It's something really cool we do here at Liberty where when like big announcements are going to happen, Kirk has the dads.
Yeah, that's good.
Send in a video, and it's really cool. It's really special, especially hearing it from the perspective of a player. I'm glad we do that. Yeah, it's awesome. So now, Sam, captain, the people are wondering and writing in, is there some sort of like secret stuff that captains have passed down generation to generation? Like when you become the president of the U.S., you get the nuclear codes. Is there anything like that of like, hey, here's the things that you need to know? Is there like a dinner involved, phone calls? What was that like?
There is a lot of that, actually. A lot more than I thought there'd be.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a good question then. Yeah.
There is. That's definitely a thing. And that happened through, I'm going to say, 5 different conversations over a course of like 2-3 weeks. And part of that was, it started with, I knew I would be kind of in the running for being the guy to lead us into next season. So I was starting to ask questions to some guys myself, just like, hey, what's your thought on this? And what's your thought on this? And some of the best advice I got actually was from Kovic. He was a captain in junior in the BCHL for, I think just one season, but he was there for 4. And he just like said, hey, don't change anything. Like, you have that opportunity because of what you're doing right now. So don't feel like you got to be a new person. Obviously you're embracing the role, but you don't have to change anything. So that was solid advice. And then from there, I talked to Bartel, Gammer, Albers, Schwenke, and those guys all had some really, really good wisdom and knowledge for me. Awesome.
Do former captains that you haven't like met or anything, do they reach out in any sort of way? I know I've seen you and Coach Ben Hughes, a former captain for the D1 Flames, talking a bit. Walk us through that.
Yeah, Coach Hughes is just like, since I even thought about coming to Liberty, he's been awesome. Just willing to help me and answer questions. And so now he's said like, hey, if you ever have a question on something, let me know. And that's a really big tool for me because like he's been here for so long and he's a knowledgeable guy. And then my freshman year captain, Colin Barrett, he reached out and just said like, congrats, basically. But past that, it wasn't anything too much.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah, now you have Jacob and Truett wearing the A alongside you. What was that process like, choosing who was going to do that? And then how excited are you as a whole for that leadership group?
Yeah, those are 2 solid like guys that are going to fill that role so well. And that decision process was me and Kirk really having good conversations, the rest of the coaching staff having conversations, and those are 2 guys that I said that I wanted to be leading the team with me. I feel like they both bring different aspects to our leadership group that are going to be strong for helping the whole team. So I had a meeting with Kirk, and then we let them know at our team banquet like 2 or 3 days later.
Cool. You mentioned, Kovic saying be yourself, right? And when I think of you as a hockey player, work ethic is number one thing that comes to mind. So where did that work ethic come from? And was that something that you like constantly have in your head, like, just work hard? Or is that a natural aspect of your life and also your game where it just kind of, you're just one of those guys that has a high rev motor?
That the whole thing starts for me with I believe that I've been blessed with opportunity and the ability to play the game of hockey. And like the least I can do is put in 100% to say, hey, thank you, Lord, for this blessing. I also believe that hockey's my outlet and my tool, like, to reach others. And so I take that like very seriously, as far as like I'm here at Liberty for a reason, and I don't want to waste a second of that time. So like that's kind of the main, like, really down deep, that's what it is. Also, I just have a passion for the game, love the game, always have. I think that might be because I grew up in the family that I was. But that passion's just always like pushed me, because I've always wanted to be better, get better, and I've always like thought, hey, I can make it to this next level. Now I can make it here. And so now I'm sitting here at Liberty, and like I haven't lost that desire at all. I just like I'm addicted to trying to get better, really is what it is.
Yeah, I could back that up as somebody who's around the rink every day, kind of see you get to go to battle. I've been wanting to read this for a long time, and we'll do it on air now. So a year ago, I was in a women's player meeting, one of our women's D1 players, and just talking about how, like, hey, in practice, that's the time to shine. That's when you really need to show the coaches. So I wrote here tons of examples of girls who grinded over summer and transformed themselves. And then I wrote, like, even for practices, Sam Feamster is an example on the men's side. He just grinded all year, and then got on the third line at nationals and even some special teams type of situations. So coaches didn't see that in games. It was all practice. And just kind of going back to your hard work and ethic there, I've never seen someone with the bucket of pucks go into the shooting booth as much as you. In the weight room, not doing dumb, look good with your shirt off type workouts as much as you. And then, early on the ice, off the ice. And so I'm just excited as part of this staff to just really see that work ethic come into place here. It's going to be awesome, and the boys will follow. So it's going to be good there. Now, I've seen you training in the weight room these last couple days and weeks with your brother. Just talk a little bit about how cool it's going to be to have your younger brother on the team, and then from your past experiences at home till now, is he going to be following Captain Feamster here, or what? Are you going to have to put him in his place a couple times?
It's going to be funny to see how that plays out.
Yeah, okay.
Because so far in the past like week and a half that since he committed, it's been all like happy. Like we're just fired up because our whole life we both wanted to play together, and we haven't gotten the chance to until now. So we're just pumped about that. And as far as back home and like away from the rink and up like all our years until now, like we have worked out together for every summer, skated together every summer. So we're always like pushing each other on that. And a lot of times it's just like me trying to like establish, hey, you're still like you're nowhere close to me right now. And then him trying to establish it is a little closer than maybe I think it is. But I know at the same time there's going to be clashes in practice and in the weight room and in games. But we actually got some good advice from Brett Gammer, because he was a younger brother playing with his older brother who was a captain. So that's gonna be a learning like curve, I think. But we will definitely go at it at some point. I know we will, but it's nothing like we're gonna go home and be fine. But just in that moment, we both have that compete. So I'm sure that'll happen.
No, I'm excited. I'm excited to. If one Feamster is good, imagine two. What happened there?
You're probably the best guy to give us like a scouting report of your brother Joe. Can you do that for us? Like, what's he going to bring to the table here?
Yeah, you're talking to probably the best guy I've seen in my whole life. So he's going to be a guy for us next year that is going to. I'd almost put him in a spot like Mason Smith was this year, where maybe he's on forward for 2 months and then a D goes down and he's going to play D. He's naturally a defenseman, and I describe his game as he's a really good skater. good puck mover, sees the play really well, and is very like deceptive. Like he uses his speed because he's not the biggest guy. So I think, I mean, there's always kind of like a learning curve when you come in at first, and every one of our guys is gonna have to like adjust to that. But I know Joe will at some point just because of his determination. And like he's like me, where it's like you come in your freshman year and you're not getting minutes, you're getting scratched. Like you don't sit there and just think like the coaches, what are they doing? Right. Like you're like, all right, I'm gonna work to the point where they can't not put me in. So he's gonna be like that too.
Yeah. And then at prospect camp, I saw your mom and dad in the stands. How excited are they just to finally see you guys play together? Financially,
they're probably the most happy they've ever been, because now they have one spot to go to. So it's not, because last year he was in Montana, so it was like either Montana on the west or out in Virginia. But they're so excited. Like it was one of the coolest moments just to get like a family group hug going after Joe committed, and just like have that moment where like full circle, like we're all together and it's here.
That's awesome.
That's good. Really cool. Let's do a couple kind of like get to know you questions for people like behind the scenes. So your dad obviously played in the NHL. I think, Annie did a good job of describing that. And then he has Little Caesars chains, right? Did you ever work in like Little Caesars growing up? Were you like, do you have like a favorite pizza? Like what's your go-to if you're like after work hours, I'm starving, like what are you whipping up for yourself?
Yeah, I'm always going beef and green pepper pizza, like the Philly cheesesteak pizza kind of thing. For some reason, that's my go-to.
Did you ever make something that was just like unheard of? Like, you can't get on the menu, obviously, like the Feamster special. What was that?
I'm always whipping up like a good snack, because I'm a big eater. So when I'm on the clock, like I'll like a little like hack I'll do is like I'll take the crazy bread dough, and instead of usually you cut it so it's eight breadsticks, but instead of cutting it, I'll just like make a giant slice for myself. So it's like a mini pizza, but it's a giant slice, and just throw some crazy toppings on there. Some pineapple, some bacon, whatever.
Now, with your dad being like an owner, do you have like a special card that works like anywhere else in the United States, like free pie whenever you want? Kind of, I'm curious about this stuff.
Great question.
Yeah, that's funny. I get that question so much, actually. I get that question a lot. And I don't have a card, but growing up, I always thought it was like, I can just walk in and get a free pizza whenever I want. But my mom kind of tuned me in on that. She's like, if you're walking in and getting free pizza, like, that's not the best look. Like, we got to still, like, pay for our pizza in front of people. So, like, I will say, though, in the summers, like, you're going to the lake or something, hey, boys, I'm like, let's just stop by the store and grab a few pizzas real quick. And, like, I worked for the manager in this one specific store for a ton of years, so I just go in there and he'll like, hook me up usually. So it's kind of nice.
When you're in Lynchburg, can you, like, not eat Little Caesars? Is it, like, only a hometown thing, or do you
Exactly.
still eat it? Or
I haven't had it once here, which which sounds bad, because I'm always, like, advocating on the team, like, boys, Little Caesars is so good. So it's like, and then they're battling with, I get a lot of chirps like, Domino's is great, like, right now, or something, like, just random ones like that.
You got to defend it.
Yeah, but usually I just eat it at home, and I really like it's different at home. Like my dad puts a lot of attention into like the quality of it, so it's not like generic Little Caesars that you would get, because I'm not a big fan of it, like in general. But something about his stores, maybe it's just home cooking. I don't know.
My last one that's pizza based. Did you ever meet Marian Illich, like the founder?
I wish.
Okay.
I really wish. My dad was very close with their family, actually, which is how he got into it. But I've never been able to meet Illich, unfortunately.
Oh, that's all right. Neat stuff.
Yeah.
When I first met Truett Olson, I had just discovered the name of the Chick-fil-A founders, Truett Cathy.
Oh, is it?
So I asked, I was like, did you name him after Chick-fil-A? I like asked his dad, and they're like, no. I was like, all right, hey, I just had to ask. So Sam, as we're looking ahead to next season now, a lot of new guys, right? It's going to be a completely different locker room than what you came in with and what you battled with this year. Kind of just give me the thoughts of like, all right, I'm going to be leading and steering this ship. A lot of new guys. Does the first thing go towards got to make sure we're competing in practice, got to make sure everybody holds each other accountable, working on the compete level. Like what are kind of some first thoughts of brand new locker room, I'm leading the ship?
My first focus right now going into that is just to build a relationship with the new guys, to where they know me and they know the type of person I am, the type of player I am, and like just get to see like I'm a genuine guy, because right now all our returners know the type of guy I am. So I know they're going to like hear me when I'm saying something or see me when I'm doing something, trying to lead the team. So that's why I would just want to make sure like our new guys coming in know that like I'm not ever being hard on you because I'm trying to be mean, you know, it's because I want to win. So once we kind of get that established, and that's already started through prospect camp, through guys visiting, like I've pretty much had a one-on-one conversation with every guy that's coming in already. So that's going well already. And then from there, the focus, like hockey-wise, is going to be compete. Yeah, that's really the number one. We're setting some new standards this year as far as like the three that we've talked about as a leadership core: focus, intensity, and compete. And we think if we bring those three things every night, we're going to be hard to beat, because of the skill that we have that will just come out if we're doing those three things. So,
love it. Perfect.
Yeah. Before we let you go, looking at yourself, you know, through the 2 years here, I think year one, it was like that work ethic really shone through. This year, we started to see the offensive touch come. Do you feel like you still have another level of offensive ability that you could get to this next season?
I know I do, and I believe that I do. So like I'm going to be holding myself to that standard this year, and that's also all summer I'm going to be working on stuff. So I know when I come back in September, I'm going to have just a little more even than I had at the beginning of last year, at the end of last year. So I'd like to try to make it more of an impact in that way next year, and I feel like I will.
Yeah. Awesome stuff.
Let's give our best piece of advice for a new captain here. Yeah. So you start, right, since you have the most hockey experience. Annie, you could go last so you could have time to think about it.
Oh, boy. This is like we're sending our son off to war.
Yeah, we're putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
I'll give you a moment to think about it, Rhett, and I'll ask you a question here. Sam was talking about, like, hey, now I have to stay above my brother. Does it ever go through your head with all your sons of, like, one day they're going to come for the title and they're going to challenge me? I need to be ready.
You know what? I haven't had to worry about that because my wife's brothers are all under 6 foot.
Oh.
Like when I walked into the room, like that family, even the mom said this is going to be great for the gene pool. Yeah. So I'm not too worried about that. But no, you know, like that's a great question, advice. And, you know, Pat and I have been around this program for a long time, but I think Sam hit the nail on the head. I think the one thing, the great thing about Liberty hockey is that it's treated like an NCAA sport, right? Like that's the great thing. I'd say the worst thing about Liberty hockey is it's treated like an NCAA sport, and you can kind of get into the program, and the initial month is like a lot of hard work, and then it kind of wanes at times because you kind of get comfortable in the limelight of what Liberty hockey is. But I think like to what we've seen from Sam, his work ethic has never, you know, wavered at all. So I think if he can lead by example in that way, I think it's going to be a good year for Liberty hockey.
Fully agree with that. And I would love Colton's advice there of you don't have to change anything, which is great, right? The boys chose you, not for who you will become, but for who you are right now.
That's a great.
It's just such a valuable thing to remember. So, you don't have to read leadership books like crazy over summer or anything like that. Just stay consistent on who you are and lead that way. And everybody follows different leaders for different reasons, but whatever everyone sees in you, just keep bringing that. That's all you need to do.
Yeah, I think it's exciting. I loved getting to cover like you and your story a little bit more in depth earlier this season with the way you were raised and how your dad plays into everything. So I just think it's really cool to have seen your progression over the years. And I love the 3 fundamentals you just talked about, you, Trude, and Jacob, what you're trying to implement this next year. I think it's exciting. So really the advice is just keep doing you know?
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Like, great advice, you guys. And also I want to say, Annie, like, that was awesome. Like, you did a great job on that. And that was like so special for our family to get to see that. So thank you for that.
Of course, that was so fun. That was great.
Yeah. Great chatting with Sam. Great young man. You could tell very respectful, and I think it means a lot to him. Probably more than he let on. He's got the good stone face going here. He's already developing like the captain-esque qualities that you need. But I feel like Liberty Hockey's in good hands, at least for the next 2 years with him, and just how far he can take this group. And one thing that we were kind of mentioning, and it was a great question by you, is that what advice would you give him? And I do think going back to it and looking at it, like in years previous, you've seen Liberty hockey teams that have come out and really play a ferocious style of hockey for the first 2 or 3 weeks, but then it kind of, like that discipline and that drive wears off a bit. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of facets to it. It could be it's hard to play at this level throughout the entire season, right? Like you can't play playoff hockey the whole time. But I do think with Sam now as the guy, like the role model that you're kind of telling your team to look at, we want you to be like this player. If they can, instead of dropping from here to here, if they can stay in the middle of that, this team with a compete level can go a long way. I think, and looking at this recruiting class, I don't know if you're going to get any, guys that are going to come out of this class and say, oh, they're the leading scorer in Liberty program history. I don't think you're going to get that. But what I do think is that you are going to get a group of individuals that are going to compete night in and night out. And especially when it comes to playoff time, I think this team is going to be really difficult to play against.
There's nothing more frustrating for me than at the beginning of the year, the big like motivational speech talk, and then thinking like this will last us the whole year.
Yeah.
Like, no, not at all. It's so easy to kind of like fizzle out. But the key and the secret to it, and it's not so much of a secret, is like you genuinely need to love to play the game.
Right.
And like Sam really, really hit on that.
Yeah.
And in any team dynamic, there's always going to be silent negotiations going on, right? So if you've ever like started a hard workout, a minute into it, you're like, I don't need to go as hard, right? Same thing with the season. I really was going to do this, but I could still get away with sleeping a little less, drinking a little less water, a little less effort in practices.
Yeah.
But when you look left and right in the locker room and those guys are also having those negotiations with themselves, like it kind of just brings the level down. However, when you have a leader like Sam will be, just because it's been his history, you can't really negotiate with yourself because you're looking at the leader over there of like, okay, that guy's killing himself every single day in practices, in the weight room, during games. I need to rise to that level as well. Yeah. And that will last for an entire year, not just a firecracker at the beginning and then trying to turn it on at the end.
Yeah, and I think it was nice to hear him say, because obviously he's going to lead by example. He's going to be a guy that other guys look at and see what the standard is, but also him saying that like he's having these conversations, he's going to hold guys accountable. That's a big part of it too, being able to just tell them like, you're not meeting the standard. Yeah. This is the standard that I'm upholding, and I need to see you meet that too. So I feel like it's just really exciting to see these guys, even the guys wearing the A, like hard workers.
Yes.
So really excited to see that become the identity of this team, especially when you have so many new guys coming in. The whole culture of the team basically is going to change. I feel really optimistic that they're going to build this thing the right way.
And I don't want us to make people feel like the culture of the team was bad in years previous.
Yeah,
I don't think that, but I do
not.
think there's going to be a new emphasis on work rate. Like I really do think that's going to be a big part of this. Another neat thing, and he mentioned it, and he talked about his brother Joe coming into the program as well. I tend to think he's probably cut from the same cloth in terms of his discipline and work rate. So you have your captain that's doing it. You also have a freshman that's trying to catch up to his brother in a lot of ways, to show that. So I think that's going to go a long ways as well. And we've talked about Adrian and how they won a national championship this year. A lot of that just was hard work. Like I would not say they were the most skilled team that we had seen throughout our season of calling Liberty hockey, but when you look at how hard they worked, they were right in the thick of it. And I think if Liberty can get to that same area in terms of lines 1 through 4 and what they're willing to do, like I really do believe that this group coming in, and again, we mentioned earlier that it's hard to put a projection on where they're going to be offensively by the time they finish their Liberty careers and how many points they're going to score. Like, it's really hard to determine that. But looking at where these guys have played, I'm very excited about this recruiting class. Like, probably more than I've been in 5 years. I think this group, forward-wise, has the potential to take you to the promised land. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, and I don't think you need a guy that's going to be the all-time scorer, right?
No,
you don't
I
even
agree.
necessarily need a guy that is in the top 5 in the scored, right, all time, right? Like, the goal is to, though, each guy that has now been brought in just closes that depth gap, right? Like we said a few podcasts ago, right? Like, your leading point scorer had almost double the points of your second scorer. You look at all those teams that made the Final Four, and then even some that were in the quarters, right? Like, you look at their depth of scoring. Multiple guys that had at least 5 players with 10-plus goals. They had at least anywhere from 6 to 8 guys with 20-plus points, right? Like, and the point gap distribution wasn't that far. That's what you want, right? You want, because everyone knows 14 in white or blue, depending on what we're wearing when we're playing, you got to stop him, right? Or keep him from only getting at least 1 goal, right? It's now then, all right, he'll probably get his, keep the rest of them do it. I think this year's group with so many balance, it's going to help now spread that distribution out, and that's what you want.
Yeah, and I think back to talking to Coach Estalos from Adrian when we just have our coach calls with him saying, like, that's how he builds his program. Like, the saying for their program is, we're too deep, and they have that all around their facility. And, him just saying, like, we're going to outwork you. Like, we don't care who our leading point scorer is. We just want to have 4 lines that are going to grind all night and wear you down. And so, obviously, every program's different, but since they are the national champion, like, that's the standard.
It worked,
like, it worked. Yep. So I think it's cool to kind of see that starting to form. And they obviously last year was a great team, really deep and everything, but it's cool to see them, since you have so many forwards that have gone now, to see them kind of rebuilding the program that way, kind of following that same mentality.
Like, I think your top line is still going to be noticeably different than the rest of your team. If you do, and here's a question we can also bring up as well. Do they stick with a Kalendijk, Olsen, and Versalono line?
Yes.
You think they stick with it?
I think you do.
Okay.
Like, there's no... Your last... So 2 years ago, you went on a Final Four run. What line scored in every game? That line. What line got points every game? Obviously, that line, too. But, like, that's the key, right? Like, it's not like that is a line of just highly skilled guys. It's guys that are working hard. Rhett, you pointed out a big factor. Obviously, we talk about Kalendijk a lot because he led the team in points the last 2 years. But, like, he's even said it, like, I'm good because Olsen and Versalono do a lot of the other stuff that I might not do, and they get me the puck in the open ice, right? And then also, like, Kalendijk also has worked on his two-way game, too. He's a much better defensive forward, too, now, too, playing on the PK a lot. So, like, there's no reason you break that lineup because they help set the tone from a scoring standpoint and a defensive standpoint now, too. So I keep them together. And then you start the year off with at least one line has chemistry, and then now it's finding the rest of the lines to get some chemistry, too.
So when you look at, so let's say they do keep that line together, okay? That's your top line. The next 3 lines of forwards, I think you could argue that you could have it in such a way that there's not like 2, 3, and 4. It's just kind of like there's 3 lines that you could choose from beneath it in terms of talent, which is, I don't know if I've seen Liberty hockey in a position like this in I don't know, like a long time. Like, I'm really trying to think of when I thought, like, there was no difference between line 4 and line 2. I don't know if there's ever been a situation like that, in all truthfulness. Like, I know it'll play out to the point where, it'll kind of be like that. Like, you'll have one that's a bit more offensively gifted. You might have one that's a bit more defensively minded. But, it's just kind of going through here. Like, you have Feamster, and you heard him say himself, like, he believes he has another offensive level to get to. And I agree as well. Like, I think he's going to...
He got it done against Adrian.
And I hope he sticks to that. Like, goals around the crease within like a 10-foot radius of the crease, like that's his bread and butter, right? They're all the same.
They are.
They all count the same up on the video boards.
It's true. They do though.
And then you have Finch, who I think like literally scratched the surface of what he can do offensively this year. Mason Smith, like, I think he has another gear. Pat's been he's he's given me support because I've said I could really see Mason Smith breaking out, and I still could.
Yeah.
Like, if he has a good camp, works hard this offseason, I think he has the raw ability to be like a 10-goal scorer.
Agreed.
Like,
Yeah. Sure.
And he's fast too. Like, he is
Very
deceptively
fast.
quick.
Yeah.
And then you have Charon, who has predominantly been a fourth-line guy during his time here, but I think another player that, plug-and-play guy that you can use. But then comes in here the list of recruits again, okay? So we mentioned Demars. We just mentioned Cocksmith. You have Shields. You have Ratzliff now. I said Ratzliff played in Melville, so I think he's going to be pretty solid. DeBrito, which I believe you liked.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like him a lot. Yeah.
Essemacher, who played in the NCDC, which is the highest level of like the USPHL, USHL kind of area. And then you have Barker as well. And, Brad Barker, I was looking at him last night. This is a guy, and so hockey people out here will get this. He played for the Don Mills Flyers. Like, you're not a crappy hockey player if you're getting a chance there. Also played, I've looked him up last night, pulled up his picture. He has this beautiful maple leaf on his chest, playing for the Markham Royals. Love to see it there, Brad. But he's played some quality junior as well. And then you heard Sam talk about his brother Joe slotting in potentially defensively. I believe he's a right-handed shot defenseman, which the Flames need. And good skater and a puck mover, which brings us to the defensive aspect of the Flames as we're kind of breaking things down. As of right now, there are 9 names on the list. You have Cox, Feamster, Pomerleau, Bite, Legowski, Cable, Bogenholm, Mox, and Morton. Now, let's be real honest. This is a hard group to get a read on because of so many injuries last year.
Yes.
Like, I could say this. It could be real easy to be like, ugh, this team's weak defensively. You could go down that road. But let's just say we're healthy. We're healthy coming into the season. Everybody's feeling good. Everybody's noggins are straight. Like, everything is in a good spot. There is a lot of potential there. Like, it's not going to be your big roughneck group of defensemen, but what you do have is a stable of guys that I think can move the puck extremely well.
Exactly. When I view our D-core with health and the right systems, this could be a great first shot, save, break it out. The D are jumping into the rush and really cause a lot of issues for other teams, right?
Very mobile.
As other teams are getting off for a change, we could be creating odd man rushes all day long with a D-core that is a little bit more offensive minded, great skaters, and they can move the puck, right? When we think of like, all right, this guy, great, escape turns, great pass up the ice, odd man, right? Like, it's there. The writing's on the wall there, and we saw a lot of flashes from a lot of guys in the spring semester. So I'm very optimistic about that side of things of should be able to move the puck really well, break it out really well, create a lot of odd man rushes.
When you look at a couple of individuals, I'm going to point out Legowski, again, hurt this past year, but if I was him, and sometimes when you were like the black sheep of the group, it's easy to get down on yourself. But if I was looking at him, I'd be like, buddy, you're the only one that is like the potential roughneck. I'm going to kill you and take your head off if you come in front of my net. Like, I would just be like, feed that fire, believe in that. When you get in and play, be that nasty defenseman that just makes life difficult. I think you'll get more playing time that way. And I think that's an aspect the Flames are going to need at certain series in the year, right? Like, if you're taking on a UNLV or another team that's big, like Minot's big, you're going to need, I think, a Owen Legowski to protect the house at times and make sure that they're not just running your D. You need the sheriff out there. Cox is like that two-way gritty guy, but I think there's some other players in here that may need to, I don't want to say alter their game, but like when you look at it, you have a plethora of offensive defensemen. Bite, Cable, Bogenholm. I think you could even say Pomerleau, is also offensively minded. There's going to have to be a form of a mental change for some of these guys that, like, not everybody can take the puck up the ice and join the rush, right? There has to be a guy staying back.
Yeah, and I think for them, too, I think the mentality should be, if you have the open lane, obviously, fire, right? But, like, the thought should be just get it on net. There's enough depth now from your forward ranks, points are going to come. right? And goals are gonna come from so many guys, and like, it's fine if you're not the guy that is the leading, one of the top 10 goal scorers for defensemen.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter anymore, right? Like, because the goal has to be the national championship, and like we said it too. Like, the goal is also, how do we bring in the guys, and do we have the makeup to move the needle to where we need to do, right? Because you've been in 2 Final Fours the last 4 years. You've made the quarters each season. Now it's about, all right, well, how do we not only make the Final Four again, but like, let's make the ship now.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the goal.
So, with all this being said, what does Liberty Hockey still need in this recruiting season? So, one thing's for sure, it's a goaltender. You only have one signed for, one on the roster for next year. So that's big. Forward is pretty deep, right? There's 14 guys that we have coming back, and you have 9 defensemen, but where do you see there being needs here?
I would like to see, because I'm sure they want to bring in probably one more forward. Like, the last 2 years have shown too, right? Like, injuries happen.
Yep.
So you need the depth. You kind of really do want to fill all the stalls in the locker room. So obviously, like you said, be good to get a goaltender, maybe 2 after last season, right?
Yeah,
You had both
it's
your
true.
goaltenders go down at one point. So it'd be good if they can do that, and then also creates good competition, right? Like, and forces Bernstein to like earn the spot and prove that, hey, I am that guy that can carry us the whole way. And then I would love to see, and this sounds crazy after all those names you just said, but like, I would love to see another D, right? Like
I think that's valid, like 100%.
Yeah, and whether it's a guy that's more traditionally a stay-at-home D or a good two-way D, right? Like that's what you want to see, right? Like a guy that too. Once he comes in, you're like, yeah, he's inserted in the top 4 already. But also forces to compete, right? Because now then it makes it even harder to make the lineup, and that's what everyone wants. And then same thing with the forwards. Like, it'd be good if you could find a way to get a guy that is going to be inserted in your top 9, right? Or could put or battle for a spot there, right? Like, because then it makes to compete there too. So like, and that's what even the captain said, right? Like, one of the things that they're going for with focus, intensity, and compete, right? Like, you want to see compete off the ice, on the ice in practice, so you can make that lineup. So like, those would be some of the areas that for sure.
Just to back you really quick on the defensive thing, I know people at home be like, you have 9 defensemen, but really quick, like, Legowski didn't play that much this past season. Cable was hurt. Morton was hurt. Mox
was hurt.
Yeah, Bogenholm was hurt. So like, there's 4 guys that, I'm not saying they're injury prone, but like, it's evident injuries happen, right? Yeah, like they missed significant time. It wasn't like they missed a game. Like, they're missing 50% of the year. So you take those 4 guys out again, you have 5D. You're gonna potentially need some help back there. And then I think too, people don't want to hear this, but I'm kind of in just like a fired off mood today. Like, you can use Division 2 as well. Like, as in, you can use them. Like, they lost a ton of D. If there's some guys that are fringe defensemen, they can go down to D2 and play regular minutes. You're going to be playing high level hockey again, which is going to help your development and get you back to the spot you want to be at, which is D1. Like, I've seen it in years previous where there's been players that are like, I don't want to go down to D2, because if I go down to D2, it's almost like they think they're going into a black hole. Well, they'll never be seen again. And that's not the case. Like, you are better to go down there and play than just get practice reps and sit in the stands for the majority of the season.
Yeah, and also too, like, even if you go down to D2, it's not like you're going down to a bad D2 team. You're going down to a team that's right now in position to compete for their own national title.
Totally.
Right? So, like, it's like you just said, you're getting good game reps. And, like, how many times have we said, like, there's a D2 team, like, oh, there should be a D1 team right now? Like, right? Teams that should transition. 100%. And I feel like we're going to see in the next 5 years more D2 teams come up to the D1 ranks, right? Like, so, like, it's not a bad idea to use that kind of player development cycle, because like you just said, get reps, and then also too, you could be a valuable piece on another team that helps them win the national title.
Yeah. I would say if I look at the biggest need on this team right now, I think it's another defenseman, especially just talking about the injuries like late in the season last year when you're having to, switch guys from forward to defenseman, and that's just not what you want to do when you're about to go to the national tournament. So I think if you get another guy who's a physical stay-at-home D, it would just really help out, and I think set the tone for, that back line of guys.
You could really use a Colin Baird right about now.
Yeah.
So
Oh man.
I know they don't really grow on trees, but like if you could find one of those, that would be your staple piece, a top 4 guy that just can do both, play both ways, And I know in a lot of ways, you don't really need offense from a defenseman when you look at this group you have. Like you have guys that are going to be able to put in the back of the net. So, So I expect there to be more news coming out of Liberty Hockey over the coming month. Of I think they're going to find a goaltender. And I feel like they have to, right? And then from there on out, we'll see. I don't know if there'll be any more additions on the skater side of things, but wouldn't surprise me either. A big class graduated. You bring in a big class as well. All right, before we go, Kerr's Corner. Kerr, the off season is hitting us. What do you like? What do you have planned for us today? I don't want to box you in. Do you have kind of like your planned speech?
Yeah.
Hit me with it.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk for the new guys coming in.
Okay.
Right. They just signed. They're super excited. They're gonna be tuning in for sure. So for those guys, I just say, and here's kind of like the speech I give to everyone is, whatever you've done so far to get to Liberty has made you good enough to get to Liberty. When you're going through the junior hockey system, like mentally, it's just like every single day you feel like, okay, if I'm not good enough, I'm cut. If I'm this, I'm going to be gone. We recruited you for a reason. We want you to play for us for a reason. So who you are right now is good enough. So basically, like, have a good summer. Don't go too crazy. I've seen a lot of guys come in like looking different, feeling different, and most of the time they end up just hurting themselves. Just too many reps of dumb training, and just coming in with shoulder issues, back issues, hip issues, something like that. Follow the program I sent. Don't go too crazy. We want you right now. You don't have to prove yourself like in junior hockey. Still get better. Don't lose the fire. Still compete and all that. But again, it's just different as you enter the college level. The next one is learn to sleep. When you're going through the junior system and just is what it is, the age you're at with cell phones and just whatever else in life, good television shows, start getting in the habit now of learning how to sleep. Start adjusting to a college hockey schedule where you're not traveling as much, you're not playing as many games, but you're going to school, and that's a stress in and of itself. Learn to sleep. The last one there is just get in the habit of drinking water only. It is amazing how I could be working with a 24-year-old man and they're not drinking enough water, and they don't understand the importance of it, even just for practices and games and how it relates to your performance. So start drinking your water right now. Start learning how to sleep right now, and then make sure you're not going too crazy over summer. We want you. We're bringing you here for a reason based off of who you are now, so continue to do what you've been doing.
All right. Well, exciting times.
Yeah. Real quick, on a note to Kerr. For people that are wondering, you got to listen to the advice, right?
It's true.
This is a guy who's helped get guys, for those that want to go to the next level after, he's been the guy to help them do that. Yeah. So, take his advice and, if your dream is to play at another level someday, he'll be the guy to help get you there.
I can say this, too. The two people that have really truly followed what I've asked of them would be Quinn Ryan, and this is what it is on paper, an undersized forward for college hockey, for professional hockey. And throughout Quinn's entire playing career here at Liberty, he missed a few games his freshman year, injuring himself playing soccer at church. Right, that was nothing hockey related. And then the other one, Captain Sam Feamster. It was also not missed a game due to injury. Right now, they're going to happen. I can't bulletproof everybody, but just follow the advice. It's there for a reason. Yeah. So thanks, Pat.
I'm excited for the fall. It's gonna be good stuff. Pat, do we have any more podcasts planned in the near future?
Yeah, the goal is to have both women's D1 and women's D2 head coaches.
Okay.
Hopefully next week.
Cool.
Obviously, we still need
Yeah.
Kirk. Shout out to Brett Berthume for all the work he's done. We're going to bring him on as well.
All right.
Oh, I love it.
Give a
Good call.
little idea.
Yeah,
of
yeah.
The recruiting train. We still got to do the schedule review.
Okay.
Reveal,
Yeah.
which is coming out, I believe, at the end of May. And
Exciting.
so we'll talk.
Yeah.
We'll break that down as well. Talk about it, and yeah. So
All right.
we got a few more.
Good stuff. Well, sad part of this, Annie won't be with us for those parts.
Nope.
But good news is, Annie, you want to break the good news? All right, Annie's going to be back for another year at least. We'll see how long we can keep her
Yes.
here. But yeah, Annie's coming back. She'll be back here next year despite having graduated. So exciting times. We'll still have her around
Super
Liberty Hockey.
excited. Yeah, but bummed that I'm going to have to miss out on the big podcast coming up.
Yeah, I know. Hey, we'll recap them with you.
Yeah.
You could just send us like a voice, you know what I mean? Just like, yeah, and we'll send it to California with Annie Court.
Get one of those ESPN screens.
Yeah.
So well.
Yes, yeah.
It's incredible.
That's all you need. Yeah.
That'd be great. Yeah, sounds good. All right, well, we will be back in the near future with some more Rock the Rink.
Yeah. Wait.
What?
We got Annie's
What did I miss?
her favorite thoughts.
Oh, her favorite thoughts.
Favorite
Okay, that's
thoughts.
fine. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
She's going to have more next year. That's
That's true.
My
That's a
bad.
good point. That's a good
yeah.
point. Yeah.
Okay, I'll give a brief recap of my favorite things from this year, though. First of all, big shout out to Brett Berthume because everything he does with Liberty Hockey, he also helps me out so much. Every single week when I need to interview somebody, I just shoot him a text and he helps me work it out.
Oh, nice.
Like,
Love it.
super, super grateful for that. Makes my life so easy. Yeah, this year was a great year. I think it's just so much fun to tell the stories of the people here. Like the Feamster story was a great one. I think of ones like Cam Ottenbright, just his family story when they came to visit and just getting to talk about them. It's really fun to just see where these guys come from and see the upbringings that they've had.
Yeah.
It's really awesome. So yeah, I'm really excited for the amount of new people coming next year because that just means new stories.
Oh,
New
yeah,
things to get
yeah.
into, because I'm not gonna lie, towards the end of the year there, you're digging for new stuff. You're digging really hard. But yeah, so it's been great and I'm really excited for next year.
I'll have to do an on-site travel thing to Feamster's home and to sit in a Little Caesars.
I just want to see him make a pie.
I know, yeah. That got me fired up, man. And I was like,
That's love language right there.
Sam versus Pat pie making
Oh!
contest.
Yeah.
We're going to get pizza at Nationals this year. I just realized.
No, just not the same. The place we went in Boston next to us, Skybox. They did a
Ooh.
good job.
Yes.
That was good.
Yeah.
Hotel.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited. This podcast and this recruiting class has taken me back about, like 5 years just with the excitement level and a lot of the same things. Leafs lose in the first round, Game 7 of Boston. A great recruiting class here, a large recruiting class like the years previous. So it's going to be a lot of fun here to chat about through the summer. It's been Rock the Rink. See you next time.